Join the Thinking in English Conversation Club right now. For just $2 a week, you can join with other English learners, practice speaking, have conversations, enjoy yourself, and use new vocabulary. We run conversation clubs every Tuesday and Thursday at 12 p.m, 6 p.m, and 9 p.m. UK time. So there's no excuse. You can join, and you should join right now. Join the Thinking in English Conversation Club, link in the description. Hello, I'm Tom Wilkinson and welcome to the Thinking in English podcast, a podcast for intermediate to advanced level English learners. Today, let's discuss the history of Valentine's Day. How did the holiday transform from a Roman festival to a Christian holiday to the International Day of Love? Let's discuss this while learning some new English vocabulary. You can listen to the full transcript of today's episode for free over on the Thinking in English blog. Click the link in the description. Check out my YouTube channel and my Instagram page, both called Thinking in English Podcast. Leave me a like, rating or review wherever you are listening right now. And subscribe to me on Patreon to join my conversation club. Here is today's vocabulary list. As always, the written list is available in the description of the podcast and also on my blog, thinkinginenglish.blog. To exchange. To exchange. The act of giving something to someone and then giving you something else. As in, I exchanged gifts with my girlfriend. Saint. Saint. A person who has received an official honour from the Christian, especially Catholic, Church for having lived in a good and holy way. As in, St George is the patron saint of England. To convert. To convert. To change to a new religion. For example, he converted to Catholicism when he got married. Festival. Festival. A special day or period, usually in memory of a religious event, with its own social activities, food or ceremonies. For instance, Holi is a famous festival in India. Fertility. Fertility. The quality of being able to produce young or fruit. For example, she began fertility treatment at the clinic 3 years ago. To commercialize. To commercialize. To develop or organize something in order to make as much money as possible. As in, Christmas is now a commercialized holiday. Affection. Affection. A feeling of liking for a person or a place. For instance, he had a deep affection for his aunt. On February 14th, millions of people around the world will celebrate Valentine's Day, a holiday associated with love, romance and relationships. Couples exchange gifts and cards to express their love and feelings for their partners. Today, we understand Valentine's Day through images of hearts, flowers, cupids and chocolates. But has it always been this way? Like all holidays, the past is not necessarily similar to the present. The origins of Valentine's Day are unclear. There are various different stories and legends. We don't have a certain understanding of how the holiday developed into the modern day. In fact, it's not even clear who St Valentine was. There are at least 2 different stories it could refer to. Today, I'm going to try and introduce some of these stories and this history surrounding Valentine's Day. By the end of this episode, you should have a better understanding of how Valentine's Day has developed and changed over the past 2,000 years. I think a good place to start will be with St Valentine. Valentine's Day is a Christian holiday named after St Valentine. But who was St Valentine? The honest answer is we don't really know. There is no clear answer to who St Valentine was, or why he became associated with love. Our records of early Christian saints are not perfect, and this means we can't be certain about the origin of the stories, legends, and origins of Valentine's Day. One of the most famous stories is that Valentine could have been a Roman priest who performed secret Christian weddings at a time when Christianity was being persecuted in ancient Rome. He apparently healed a blind girl, was executed for his beliefs on February 14th, and signed his final note before his death, "From your Valentine." Others suggest that another saint called Valentine, who was the Bishop of Terni, also performed secret weddings and was also executed on February 14th. This Valentine was also said to heal a sick child, this time a boy, and refused to convert to paganism, the old Roman religion. The fact that there are two different possibilities to be the Valentine from Valentine's Day has puzzled people for years. Valentine was a common name in ancient Rome, and there are hundreds of stories about early Christian saints called Valentine. While the definition of a saint varies between different Christian groups, in broad terms, a saint is someone who has died and been officially recognized and honored by the Christian Church, because his or her life was a perfect example of the way Christians should live. There are early stories about Valentines being executed on February 14th, but the first written records we have date from about 500 years after the executions would have taken place. This makes it almost impossible to know exactly what happened. Moreover, two Valentines I mentioned earlier have very suspicious stories because they are so similar. They both were said to be executed on February 14th. They both healed children, and they both were imprisoned for their beliefs and actions. Could these two Valentines be the same person? It's very possible. Or perhaps someone got confused and borrowed details about each person. One thing we do know, however, is that in the early stories about the Valentines and their lives, there is no mention of love. Nothing was written about secret marriages or last-minute love letters. All of this was likely a later invention or addition to the legend of Valentine's Day. So to summarize, we don't exactly know who St. Valentine was, and we don't know if he was connected to love and romance when he was alive. Okay, so if St. Valentine was not necessarily associated with love and romance, how did Valentine's Day develop? How did Valentine's Day start? Well, while some people suggest that Valentine's Day is celebrated in the middle of February in honor of the day St. Valentine was executed, the origins are probably a little bit different. Many Christian holidays, including Christmas and Easter, were placed during certain months or times of the year to replace earlier Roman pagan festivals. If you are converting religion, it is much easier to change religion if you can keep the same holidays. You just change the celebration. And that's what the early Christians did. They placed Christian holidays on the same day or at the same time of the year as their already existing holidays. In the middle of February, the Romans celebrated a festival called Lupercalia. Lupercalia was a festival dedicated to the Roman god of agriculture, Faunus, and was dedicated to fertility and the founders of Rome. The celebrations of Lupercalia were very different to modern-day Valentine's Day. Roman priests would sacrifice a goat, cut its skin into strips, and then walk through the streets of the city. As they walked, they would slap women and crop fields with the skin, as it was believed that touching the goat skin would make both women and the crops more fertile. According to legend, the women of Rome would then look for marriage partners. This festival was eventually banned after Rome became Christian. At the end of the 5th century, Pope Gelasius continued the tradition of having a festival in the middle of February by declaring a holiday on the 14th, St Valentine's Day. Love and romance, however, were not associated with this day. Valentine's Day was not a day for couples or to celebrate love until much later. Early Valentine's Day was a Christian feast holiday in the middle of February. Modern Valentine's Day is a celebration of love, romance, and relationships. How did this happen? Well, in the year 1375, the English poet Geoffrey Chaucer wrote a line in his poem Parliament of Fools. For this was sent on St Valentine's Day, when every fowl cometh there to choose his mate. Now, this may seem like an insignificant line, but it is the first written record of Valentine's Day being connected with love or romance. It is referencing a belief in England and France at the time that the birds' mating seasons started on February 14th, and this belief led to an association between love and St. Valentine's Day. Love was a key feature of medieval poetry and literature. Poets and writers of the period wrote endlessly about love and courtship, and Valentine's Day was a day that they could associate with relationships and feelings. Their characters could express their love on Valentine's Day. And other writers followed Chaucer's lead by connecting St. Valentine's Day to romance. Shakespeare, for example, wrote the lines, "Tomorrow is St. Valentine's Day, all in the morning betime, and I am made at your window to be your Valentine." And he wrote this in Hamlet. These authors helped to ensure Valentine's Day was firmly connected with love by the 14th and 15th centuries. Written Valentine's messages began appearing in the 1400s as well. Charles, Duke of Orleans, wrote a Valentine to his wife in 1415, while he was being imprisoned in the Tower of London. And King Henry V hired writers to write Valentine notes to his wife. So, how did modern Valentine's Day develop? Well, by the 1700s, people in the UK were known to exchange Valentine's gifts and notes on February 14th. The holiday spread through the whole country and through all social classes. Printed cards became available in the 1900s, and with cheap postage prices, a card was a convenient way to let someone know how you feel about them. The Industrial Revolution powered the commercialization of Valentine's Day. Factories could mass produce cards and gifts, and we could send them easily across the world. As the day was featured in more books, TV shows, and movies, it became even more widely celebrated. One of the biggest proponents of Valentine's Day was, and still is, Hallmark Cards, who began marketing and mass-producing Valentines in 1913, and have been key to pushing the holiday as mainstream in the USA ever since. Today, Valentine's Day is a highly commercialized holiday. More than celebrating love, it is about buying expensive jewelry, gifts, and flowers to demonstrate your love to your partner. Hopefully now you understand how Valentine's Day evolved from a Roman pagan fertility festival to a Christian feast day, to a celebration of love, and finally to the modern commercialized holiday. But how about the symbols and images of Valentine's Day? How did these become associated with the holiday? For example, the heart is the most iconic symbol of Valentine's Day, representing love and affection. Today, this is obvious and everyone knows it, but it hasn't always been. If you really think about it, we know today that love is a feeling created in the brain, not in the heart. But in the Middle Ages, the heart shape became associated with romantic love, and since then it has become ubiquitous. You've probably seen images of Cupid before, a naked cherub firing arrows of love at people. Cupid is a Roman god who was borrowed by the Romans from the Greek god of love, called Eros. As a god of love, it makes sense he is associated with Valentine's Day. Although he is not a Christian god, which might be a little strange. And as I mentioned earlier, love letters have been part of Valentine's Day celebrations for hundreds of years. Today, much of this letter writing has been replaced by cards. Red roses are seen as a symbol of passionate love, and chocolate has become another common gift. All of these are images associated with Valentine's Day today. So here is today's final thought. Today I've tried to explain the history and evolution of Valentine's Day. From a mysterious saint no one really knows, to a Roman festival of fertility, to the writings of Chaucer and Shakespeare, to the modern day celebrations of giving chocolates and flowers, Valentine's Day has changed a lot. But how do you celebrate Valentine's Day in your country? Let me know the celebrations or lack of celebrations that occur where you live. You can leave a comment in Spotify or a comment on the Thinking in English blog, or send me a message on Instagram. I really love hearing from all of you, and people send me messages all the time on Instagram and send me emails, which is absolutely amazing. If you want to have closer contact to me, if you want to talk to me in person, you can do. I have a Discord community, I have a Patreon, and I do weekly conversation clubs. Actually, we do 6 a week conversation clubs. So if you want to have the chance to speak with me and have me join in your conversations, you can do. Just join the Patreon, sign up. It's an excellent opportunity for you to practice speaking in English, practice communication skills, develop confidence. And actually, that's the most important part. I am a big believer that confidence is the most important communication skill. You can not know much vocabulary or not know much grammar, but if you're confident, you can have a conversation. And confidence is something that people don't practice enough. And the conversation club is an excellent way to improve your confidence. So if you're interested in talking with me and having more interactions with me and other English teachers and other Thinking in English learners, and joining a big community of people, organising study groups and chat rooms about movies and exam preparation and playing games together, join the Thinking in English community. Join the conversation clubs. The link is in the description. Also, go and check out my YouTube page and my Instagram page, and leave me a rating. If you're on Apple, go and leave me a written review and a 5-star rating. Really appreciate it. For a long time, I didn't have any Apple reviews. And in the last few weeks, I've been getting so many incredibly lovely ratings and reviews over on Apple. So please go and leave me another written review. I have email alerts on my phone. So once a day, I get an email from a company which tells me my charts, places in the Apple charts and things like that. But the first thing it says is any review that I've got for the day. So please go and leave me a nice review, and I will definitely read it because it tells me it on my phone about 7 p.m. in the evening every day. And if you listen on Spotify, give me a 5-star rating. I'm currently about 4,700 ratings, 5-star ratings on Spotify, which is amazing. I'm one of the highest rated English podcasts, I think. My ambition is to be the most rated, right? My ambition is to be the highest rated highest rated English podcast. Definitely advanced, intermediate level podcast. So go and rate me on Spotify as well. So sorry if my voice was a little different in this episode as well. I've had a cold recently, and I kind of rushed this episode at the last minute. So sorry about that. I wasn't able to record because I was sick. So yeah, hopefully the next episode my voice will be back to normal. I won't be quite as tired, or my nose won't be as blocked. But thank you for listening. If you're still listening right now, that's amazing. And I will see you all next time. Goodbye.